The air in this room doesn't smell of life anymore. It smells of vinegar, dried wormwood, and the iron scent of blood. My name is Nicholas, and in this year of 1348, I am the only shield between my neighbors and the grave. The sun has set, but for a physician, the night is when the demons are most active. I sit by my table, the light of a single tallow candle dancing on the glass of my files. Outside, the streets of the town are silent, save for the occasional cry of a watchman. People are locking their doors, not against thieves, but against the miasma, the bad air that carries the Great Mortality. I wear my leather mask, its long beak stuffed with rose petals and cloves, to filter the breath of death. It makes me look like a monster, a giant bird of prey. But in these times, only a monster can look the plague in the eye. My hands are stained with ink and herbs, not dirt like the ploughman's. I studied the texts of Galen and Hippocrates in the cold halls of Oxford. I learned that the body is a balance of 4 humours: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. When the stars align in a cruel pattern, as they have this year, the humours boil over. But the books didn't prepare me for the reality of 1348. The Great Sickness is unlike any fever I have ever seen. It starts with a shiver, a headache, and then the buboes, swellings in the armpits and groin that turn black as coal. I consult my astrolabe, tracking the conjunction of Mars and Jupiter, searching for a reason in the heavens for this hell on earth. The villagers look to me for hope, but all I can give them is a prayer and a bottle of theriac, a mixture of 60 herbs that might save their souls, even if it cannot save their bodies. Let us look at my shelves. Here is the mandrake root, shaped like a tiny, screaming man. Here is the crushed emerald dust for the wealthy, and the dried toad skin for the poor. I spend my days grinding powders in my stone mortar. Scrape, grind, scrape. The sound is the rhythm of my life. I mix vinegar of the Four Thieves, a pungent liquid that I use to wash my hands and my tools after visiting a sick room. I burn juniper branches and frankincense in the corners of my house to purify the air. Some say I am a sorcerer, others say I am a saint. I know the truth. I am just a man trying to read a book in a room where the light is rapidly fading. I watch the smoke from my braziers curl into the rafters, and I wonder if the herbs are enough to stop a tide that has already drowned half the world. A frantic knocking on the oak door breaks the silence. I do not rush. In 1348, haste is a servant of the grave. I pull on my heavy leather overcoat, thick with wax to repel the miasma, and fix my mask. My breath sounds like a dying man's rattle inside the wooden beak. I follow a boy through the labyrinth of the town. We pass the plague crosses painted in red on the doors of the doomed. Inside the house, the heat is stifling. I see the patient, a wealthy wool merchant, now reduced to a shivering mass of damp skin. I reach for my lancet. The theory of the humors dictates that we must release the corrupted blood. I place the silver bowl and make the cut. The blood is dark, thick, almost black. As it flows, I apply leeches to his neck, their cold bodies swelling with his fever. It is a desperate dance. I know, deep in my heart, that the lancet often brings the end faster than the disease, but I am a prisoner of my own learning. I wash my hands in lavender water and leave, the merchant's ragged breathing echoing in my ears like a curse. As I walk back, I encounter the Flagellants, a line of men, stripped to the waist, whipping their own backs with iron-tipped cords until the cobblestones run red. They sing hymns of agony, believing that if they punish themselves enough, God will stay his hand and stop the Great Mortality. I watch them from the shadows. To a physician, they are a nightmare. They carry the sickness from town to town in their open wounds, spreading the very pestilence they seek to outrun. The church calls them heretics, the people call them saints, and I call them a catastrophe. The air is thick with the smell of their blood and the smoke of the plague fires burning at every crossroads. People are throwing their furniture, their clothes, and sometimes their hope into the flames. They think the fire will eat the sickness, but the fire only reveals how much we have already lost. Back in my sanctum, I look at my tools. My mortar and pestle are never still. I am mixing the king's powder, a blend of pearls, coral, and white amber. It is a medicine for kings, yet it does nothing against the black swellings. I see the desperation in the eyes of those who come to my window. They offer me gold, silk, even their wedding rings for a single drop of my miracle water. I take their gold, not out of greed, but because I need it to buy the spices from the east that are becoming rarer than dragon's teeth. I feel like a charlatan, selling hope in a bottle when I know that the best medicine is simply to run. Cito, long, tarde. Go quickly, go far, and return slowly. But I cannot run. I am the physician. If I leave, the last light of reason in this town goes out. I check my own skin every hour, searching for the telltale mark, the god's token. Every itch is a terror, every sneeze a death sentence. The bells have stopped ringing. There are too many dead for the sextons to keep count. A heavy silence has settled over the town, broken only by the creak of the death carts in the early hours. I sit by my window and watch the stars. They are indifferent to our suffering. Jupiter and Saturn remain in their cold conjunction, oblivious to the piles of bodies in the churchyard. I think of the world after this. Will there be anyone left to read my journals? I write down the symptoms, the failures, and the few small victories, hoping that one day a physician in a future age will look at my words and understand our struggle. I am Nicholas. I am the watcher of the pulse and the gatherer of herbs. My mask is my cage, and my knowledge is my burden. As the first gray light of dawn touches the rooftops, I prepare to go out again. I will put on the beak, I will carry the cane, and I will walk into the shadow once more. In 1348, we do not blame invisible germs for the pain. We blame the stars. I spend hours staring at my charts, tracing the alignment of Saturn and Mars in the sign of Aquarius. We believe that a corrupt vapor, a miasmic cloud, was drawn up from the earth by the heat of the sun and the cold breath of the planets. Every patient I visit is a puzzle of the four humors. If a man is too sanguine, he has too much blood. If he is melancholic, his black bile is overflowing. I carry a small ivory wheel, a volvel, to calculate the best time for treatment based on the phase of the moon. To bleed a man when the moon is in the wrong house is to invite the devil into his veins. It is a world where science is indistinguishable from magic, and where the scent of a crushed emerald is thought to be more powerful than a clean cloth. I watch the villagers carry pouches of dried lavender and pomanders filled with ambergris, hoping that a pleasant smell can act as an invisible wall against the shadow. Desperation makes men do terrible things to themselves in the name of health. I have seen people pluck the feathers from a live pigeon's tail and apply the bird's bare skin to their buboes, believing the creature would suck the poison from their body. I have seen the wealthy drink potable gold, liquid metal mixed with wine, only to die in even greater agony as the gold tore their insides apart. My pharmacy is a cabinet of curiosities. I use Armenian bole, a red clay, to stop the flux, and I prescribe the tears of the vine. the sap from a cut grapevine to clear the eyes. But the most sought-after remedy is theriac. It contains the flesh of vipers, aged for years in honey and opium. We believe that like cures like, that the venom of the snake can fight the venom of the plague. It is a slow, expensive medicine that only the desperate can afford. As I mix it, I wonder, are we healing them, or are we simply numbing their transition to the next world? The plague has broken the bonds of the family. I have seen mothers abandon their children the moment the first black spot appeared. The statute of laborers is being ignored. There are no plowmen left to work the Lord's fields, and the price of a day's work has risen higher than the spire of the cathedral. The social order of 1348 is melting away like wax in a fire. Even the way we bury our dead has changed. The churchyards are full, and we now use plague pits, massive trenches where the bodies are layered like lasagna, with only a thin coating of lime between them. I walk past these pits and see the legs and arms of those I tried to save. The death criers no longer ring their bells. They are too tired, or they are already in the pits themselves. In this chaos, I am the only one who still keeps a record. I write down the names of the families that have vanished, a scribe for a ghost town. My last task of the night is to check my urine wheel. By looking at the color and sediment of a patient's water, I claim to see their future. But tonight, I look into my own mirror. I see a man who is becoming as pale as the parchment he writes on. I wash my mask in boiling wine and hang my leather coat near the fire. The people think I am powerful because I know the names of the stars and the properties of the mandrake. But in the dark, without my beak and my cane, I am just a frightened man in a year that has no mercy. 1348 is a forge, and we are the iron being hammered. I am Nicholas, the physician. I am the collector of symptoms and the witness of the end. If I wake tomorrow, it is a miracle. If I do not, let these words be my testament. We fought the darkness with everything we had, even when the herbs were dry and the stars were silent.